Hello and welcome, I'm Thomas Porteous and you're watching another episode of Deep Dive on NewsX World. Today we will be examining the case for the extradition of Sheikh Hasina, the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh who was convicted of crimes against humanity recently. An extradition treaty is a bilateral legal agreement between two sovereign countries to facilitate the extradition of criminals and nationals in a streamlined manner. The objective is to prevent criminals from escaping justice simply by crossing a border. These treaties are governed by specific rules as agreed upon in bilateral negotiations. The extradition treaty between India and Bangladesh came into effect on the 28th of January in 2013. The terms of this treaty define a legal and judicial process with formal engagement and consultations between the two governments. Specifically, the treaty recognises particular offences as extradition offences. An offence must be recognised as one under the laws of both India and Bangladesh, punishable with a minimum sentence of imprisonment for a year. Extraditable offences include offences related to taxation or revenue, as well as ones of a fiscal character. Additionally, extradition must also be granted in respect of attempts to commit, aid or abet, incite or participate as an accomplice in said extraditable offences. In the past, the treaty has aided the return of Anup Chatia, a leader of the United Liberation Front of Assam, wanted in India on various cases, including killing, kidnapping and extortion. Now, in return, India extradited Nur Hussain, the prime accused in a case of 7 murders in Bangladesh's Narayajganj. The reason for the recent surge of interest in the extradition treaty between India and Bangladesh is, of course, former Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who was recently found guilty of crimes against humanity and murder, among many others. Since the ouster of her government in August of 2024, Sheikh Hasina has been residing in India after escaping in dramatic circumstances as riotous protesters stormed her home. The crux of the situation lies in Article 6 of the extradition treaty, which provides for a political offences exemption. The text states that extradition may be refused if the offence is one of a political character. It even describes 13 specific offences that cannot be cited as offences of political character, including the likes of murder, manslaughter, or culpable homicide, assault inflicting bodily harm, and other provisions like the causing of an explosion or the possession of firearms and explosive materials. Offences relating to terrorism, kidnapping and incitement of murder are also explicitly listed under offences that cannot be described as political offences. Article 8 of the treaty prescribes reasons for refusing extradition. This article provides legal grounds to the requested state to refuse extradition at their discretion in particular circumstances. If the person sought can satisfy the requested state that their extradition would be unjust, either due to the nature of the offences they are accused of or by the accusation not having been made in good faith in the interests of justice, the persons sought may also avoid extradition if they are accused or convicted of a military offence. A person may also avoid extradition if their sentence would not extend to imprisonment or detention for a minimum of 4 months. For India, the official response for now is that the Ministry of External Affairs has taken note of the request. The process is a long one, thanks to the legal groundwork required, and India has ample grounds to decline the extradition request. Under Article 6, India can argue that while the conviction may be valid, the request for extradition itself is political in nature and therefore covered under the exemptions in the treaty. Furthermore, under Article 8, India has the right to determine whether the accusations have been made in good faith or not, giving India yet another possible reason to refuse the extradition of Sheikh Hasina. Whatever entails, this saga will definitely impact the nature of the relationship between India and Bangladesh and could even shift geopolitical balances in the region. Joining us now to discuss this further, joining us from Dhaka in Bangladesh, is Shoaib Chowdhury. He's the editor of The Blitz. Thank you, Shoaib, for joining us here on NewsX World. It's a pleasure to have you. First of all, what's the latest situation with regards to the extradition request? Has the interim government said anything more about their request for the extradition of the former Prime Minister?
Thank you very much, Thomas. This extradition request by the current Yunus regime, to our understanding, what they are saying, that the ICT is sending the verdict to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and in Bangladesh, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will make a formal extradition request to New Delhi. At the same time, some of the insiders of the regime, they are saying that they will seek help from the Interpol for getting Sheikh Hasina arrested from India and sent her to Bangladesh. But at this stage, as you know, that several international rights groups, including Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International, they have condemned this verdict, and they say that due process was not followed.
Yes.
While awarding Sheikh Hasina with the death penalty. And one more fear is now that in Bangladesh there is massive cases of mob violence. So some people fear that if Sheikh Hasina is sent back to Bangladesh, immediately after stepping down to Dhaka airport, she may become victim of mob lynching. And that's exactly what Yunus regime wants. They don't want to implement the court order, but rather they want her to be killed through the mob violence, mob lynching. They want her to become a victim of mob lynching.
Yes. And just to go into this further, do you think India is justified in refusing Bangladesh's request? There are several sections that shed some credibility to India's option to deny. What do you make of them?
You see, to India, they can deny the extradition because if they think this verdict was politically motivated, because in the extradition treaty it is clearly mentioned that if the conviction or the trial is politically motivated, India or Bangladesh, both sides, can deny the extradition request. So this was definitely a politically motivated trial, because all of the members of the International Criminal Court, I mean the prosecutors, they belong to Jamaat Islami, and the student front of that party. And you may have seen that immediately after the pronouncement of the verdict, there was massive celebration inside the courtroom and clapping inside the courtroom, which is unprecedented. And even Sheikh Hasina's so-called defense lawyer, which was provided by the state, he was laughing, saying that he is dissatisfied with the judgment. So altogether, it was a big drama, and I think this drama has flopped.
Yes, Shoaib Chowdhury, thank you very much for joining us here on NewsX World. Pleasure to have you on the programme.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up today's episode of Deep Dive. Of course, we will bring you all the updates coming out of that ongoing situation in regards to the situation between Bangladesh and India. Thank you very much for watching today's episode of Deep Dive.